Hello there and welcome. My name's Suzanne from Nonstop Papercrafts. Thank you for joining me again on my channel. Okay, so today is part 2 of the envelope folio. So in part 1 we reinforced our cover, we did the spine. I used fabrics, you may have used fabrics as well, or chose to use one of your digitals or scrapbook papers or whatever. We then obviously decided what we want to be on our front and back cover and stuck those on. However, the front one is actually a pocket, so we've only glued around these 3 edges. This video may be a little bit longer than the first one, only because I want to get 2 parts done, and the reason I'm trying to squeeze in 2 is because they're both very similar in how they're laid out. And what I would like to do is get this front section done that slips into the front. So as you can see, it kind of folds out and you've got 3 panels. And then I would also like us to get done, this part here, which is also 3 panels. So they're very similar, and that's why I'm hoping to get both of those done in this video. Okay, so starting with the front panel, you're going to need 2 envelopes today. So we'll start with 1. And this part here is the bit that's going to slot into our pocket. So the first thing that I did was tried to measure how wide you obviously want this front bit. So if I get, sorry, my other one back. So this one, if I just slot it in, when it slips in, it comes right up to my stitching on this edge. Okay, so it's almost, and same at the top and the bottom. Okay, so you can still see the stitching around the edging. So it's a nice big size. You can of course make this smaller. It's entirely up to you on the size that you want. Okay, and then obviously it opens that way and then opens that way as well. Okay, so I'm going to do the same for this one. I want it going right up to the stitching. So I just eyeball it. I am not measuring. So I want this edge to obviously come in line with the edge of the pocket. But this edge, obviously I want to go up to the stitching. So once you think you've got that level, just obviously make your crease. Then you're going to fold the envelope back on itself. And again, you want to kind of line this up with the edge. Sorry, let's bring that in frame, that might help. So line this one up with the edge. And it doesn't matter that this bit is shorter and doesn't quite come to here, because this is the bit that's going to get tucked in. So we don't really need to worry if that's not the same size as the other pieces. Okay, so that's how it is. It will fold out and then it will fold that way. Okay, so now obviously you can see this is far too tall. So what I did is on mine, I know I glued where my stitching is. So I'm going to use my stitching as a guide. Obviously, if you didn't decide to sew because you don't like the look or you haven't got a sewing machine, then maybe just leave a little bit of a gap, because you can always trim some more off. You want this to be a snug fit, but obviously you don't want to have to wrestle it in and out. So yeah, maybe just give yourself a little bit of a gap where you kind of guesstimate where your glue to be, trim it down. If you find it's still too tight to put in, then just trim a little bit more off and keep doing that until you've got the right size. So like I said, I'm going to use my stitching as a guide. So going up to roughly where it is at the top, I'm then going to take a pencil and make a little mark at the bottom where I want to trim. Okay, so I'm going just above the stitching, and that's where I'm going to trim my envelope. Okay, so here's my trimmed down envelope. So all we're going to do now is just try and pop this in here. If you find that you're struggling and you're having to wrestle it in, then you may just want to trim a little bit more off, but ideally you want to try and be able to get it all the way in. And I do realise obviously it's going to be floppy because we haven't got any cards or anything on there yet, but just try and make sure that you can slide it in. Obviously you're not going to see that flap there, and then that's how it would look on the cover. Okay, so it folds out this way and then folds out that way as well. Okay, right, once you are happy with the fit, I'm just going to move that out of the way now. Now we need to start covering it. So obviously you've got this on your back piece. This is going to be slotted in, and where it kind of looks like a Z, this part is your front panel, so it should open up that way. So as I said, I'm using my porch prints, the Industrial Grunge, and I really love this set, so I am going to be using this for my front cover. And I'm probably going to use this side as well because I really love that kind of collaging that's there. So all I did was measure, and when I say measure, very loosely measure. So I like a little bit of a border, as I've said when I was doing the cover. So I'm just going to line it up so there's a little bit of a border of the envelope underneath. And then I'm just going to make pencil marks again where I'm just going to trim my paper down. Okay, and then once you've made your marks, just trim it down so you've got that one to size. Okay, so here's my cover now trimmed to size. So I will be sewing around the edge. Before I do that, I am going to be adding a book plate on mine. So I've just got two little split pins put in there, or brads I think they're also known as. I've always known them as split pins. So all I do for that is take out my split pins first, is kind of decide obviously where you're going to have it if you are choosing to have one. Now this has this wonderful little signature here which I just think is fabulous, so I'm going to try and see if I can line this up so that that signature is in the middle. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is making sure that this book plate is straight. I'm just going to put pencil marks in these two parts here so I know where my split pins are going to go. Okay, so I'm just going to make that one a little bit darker. Okay, and then all I do is I use my pokey tool. I'll just make a little stab and then a hole. The same on the other side, so kind of just sort of stab roughly where the middle is, poke a little hole, obviously mind your fingers. Okay, and then that's going to go back on there. So then I'm just going to put my split pins back in, and then carefully poke them through my holes. Okay, and then on the back just obviously spread them out, and although I don't necessarily need to because this isn't going to be a pocket or anything, I am going to put some washi tape on the back. So just picked a random colour, it doesn't matter, it doesn't go with the theme of everything else because, like I said, if you're not going to see this bit, it is going to be glued down, but it's just to kind of hold those in place a little bit. There we go. So that's my book plate on the front, and then as I said, I will sew around the edge. So we're going to put that one to one side for now, and let's go to the next one. So on my other one, when you opened it up, this one was a large pocket with just a little divot in the top there. So what I'm going to use is the other side of this. So again, just going to measure up and then just cut it to size. So I'm just trying to figure out where that bend is. Make sure that's straight. Okay, so if that's where the crease is, I want to come in a little bit, so I've got to cut there and about there. Okay, so again, I'm going to trim this one down. Okay, so there's that one trimmed down. So all I'm going to do is put a notch in the top. So I have a circle punch which helps with that. You obviously do not have to put one of these in. I just like the look of it, so just eyeballing where the middle is and popping that in. Okay, so that's page 2 done. Then on the inside we have the kind of smaller pocket here, and then this one that has the 2 flaps that kind of come in. So let's have a little look what we want to use. Okay, so I'm going to use these ones as my background pages. I am going to swap this around a little bit. So before, like I said, I had the smaller pocket here, and then this one was the one that had the flaps coming down. However, I really love these stamps on this side. So obviously if I put a pocket in, I mean obviously it depends how deep I make it. Oh, I might be alright actually if I just make it maybe a shallower pocket. I just don't want to cover those up. I think that would be an absolute shame. So yeah, no, actually we will keep it as is. I'll just make a shallower pocket, that's fine. Okay, so again, same as last time, I'm just going to measure where I need to cut. So I need to cut there, and I need to cut just inside that fold to trim that side, and then for this one I need to trim there, and obviously it'll be the same along the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to trim that one down. Okay, so that's my 2 pieces trimmed. So I like that they line up. That's just an OCD thing of me. You obviously didn't need to plan it out just as I had, but I like this one continuous piece. So this one, like I said, I'm going to make a pocket. I am going to make it slightly shorter. I think I had quite a tall pocket, but like I said, I don't want to cover those up. So I'm going to make a slightly shorter pocket on this side, and then this one's going to be the flaps. So let's have a think. What bits do we want to use? I'm not actually sure. I mean, I know nothing about music, what way up this went anyway. So we will just make it up as we go along, I guess. Let's do this one. Oh, hang on, is that a number? Oh, there's numbers here, so it obviously goes this way up. That helps me. Right, so this is going to be my bottom pocket, so I just want to see how tall I want it. So I could do it actually where that music starts, and then obviously the width, I want it to be the same width as this. I'm going to cut it there. Right, let's trim that one down, and then we'll decide how we're going to do the flaps for this one. Okay, so that's my pocket cut down, so that's going to sit there, and I like that because obviously, like I said, I can still see that. So again, I'm just going to cut a little part circle at the top, just so you can kind of see that that's a pocket. I know it's quite obvious because it is obviously a different paper, but that's then going to go there. Right, so for this one, obviously we need the bits that fold over. Now if you're using a 12 by 12 piece of paper, then obviously you wouldn't necessarily trim your paper down, because you can obviously just then fold it in on itself to create those flaps, if that makes sense. I do have to obviously create mine because I'm using A4 sheet, so I'll just make it slightly smaller because I've had to cut the borders off. I would like as much of the music as I can, so let's see. So I kind of want it coming down maybe, I think, about 2 inches. So I actually need to cut this at 3 inches. Oh, actually, I'm going to cut it at 3 inches. I'm going to have it coming down 2.5, and then the other ½ inch is going to be tucked behind to glue it on here. So it might make more sense once I've cut it and you can kind of see what I mean. So I'm just going to cut this. I'm going to have 2 3-inch strips, and then I'll be back and I'll show you what I mean. Right, so here's my 2 3-inch pieces. So they're the same width, obviously, as my base card, and they're 3 inches high. What I'm going to do is on my scoreboard, at the bottom of this one, I'm going to score up ½ inch, and at the top of this one I'm going to do ½ inch, because that's the bit that's going to fold underneath to kind of create that flap. So let's line that up, and then like I said, I'm just going to do 1/2 inch. Fold that over, and then that's going to go on the bottom there, so it's folded round the bottom, and then that's going to create that hinge to open it up. Okay, I'm going to do the same on the top. Again, fold it over, and then that will be the piece that goes along the top. Okay, and then that will fold, make the hinges. So what I'm going to do before I stick anything down is, because I want this to be like industrial grunge, I'm going to tear. So before I used a border punch to obviously make the pretty edges, but obviously this is grungy, so I'm just going to tear the edge of this one, and then I'm going to ink it up. So I'm not making neat tears, I've kind of got lots of sort of jagged edges and things. I'm going to do the same at the top. Okay, and then what we're going to do is ink that now actually, before I stick it down, because it might just make it a little bit more difficult once I've stuck it down to then try and ink. So I'm just going to do that bit now. I'm going to do all of the edges once everything's sewn and everything and ready to go. Okay, excellent. So that's my top and my bottom. Now, as I said, I am going to sew. So what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of glue to the bottom just to kind of hold it in place. And then I will run all of these pieces through my sewing machine once we're ready. But we've still got the bit that needs to be tucked in to do. So I'm just going to put, like I said, a teeny bit of glue just to hold it in place while I sew. This one goes on here, just make sure it's all lined up. Like I said, a little bit of glue, it doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to kind of hold it in place while I sew. So if you are sewing and you're doing this one, obviously I'm not going to sew with this shut, I will have to open it up and then sew. Okay, so this part will be sewn. I don't tend to sew on these flaps, up to you if you want to. But I don't tend to sew on these, I just sew around this part. Okay, so that's that one ready, so we can put that one to the side as well. And obviously that was that one ready, so we can put that one to the side. So the last bit that we've got to do for this panel is the bit that gets tucked inside here. Okay, so for this part I'm going to use the same one that I used for the cover. And like I said, it's going to do the front and the back. So, as we've done with every other piece, I'm literally just going to measure so I know where to cut. So I'm going to do this from the top first. And that one's going to go there. And then how far in I need to go. I'm going to move it up slightly. I need to cut there. Okay, so I'm going to cut 2 of these panels, and then yeah, one's going to be the front, one's going to be the back. Okay, so I'm just going to go and trim those down. Okay, so that's those 2 bits trimmed down. So like I said, I'll have one for the front and one for the back. So I know that this panel arches round. You can of course arch this round with it if you like. Did I do it on the last one? I think I did actually. Yeah, so on this one I did arch my card round, so it's entirely up to you if you want to. I'm probably not going to actually on this one. So that's my front, that's my back. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is take all of my pieces. I'm going to ink around the edges and sew around the edges of all of them, and then we'll come back and stick them down, and then we can move on to the second part. Okay, so I'm back with all my inked and assembled pieces. So what we're going to do now is, so for this one we obviously need some closures. So all I've done is just using a 1-inch punch. I have punched 2 circles out and I've stuck them together, and then obviously done that twice. And then using my pokey tool, I've just put a hole through the middle, and again just using some split pins, I am going to attach these on here. So the first thing you want to do is obviously try and decide whereabouts you want them. I'm actually going to take that out so I can see. So again, I am not measuring, I'm going to eyeball roughly where I think the middle is, and that's where it's going to go. So I'm just going to do a pencil mark in there, and then I'm going to do the same at the top. So again, just eyeball it so it's roughly the middle, and then pencil mark. Okay, and then exact same thing, so obviously fold it out so you're not poking through. Again, be careful of your fingers. You just want to make a little hole on either side. Okay, and then pop your split pin in, and again just separate. Now because I am doing industrial grunge, I don't mind that you can see the split pins, that doesn't bother me. So I'm not going to cover them, but obviously if you are doing something else you may want to cover them. So you could still use washi tape, but maybe just try and pick something that kind of goes with your theme, or use another piece of paper to cover it. That's entirely up to you. But as I said, because mine's the industrial grunge, I'm going to kind of keep it like that. Right, let's do the one at the top. Oh, actually it's got the, have I got that on the other side? I have. I might change that so that it's the music. Okay, so that's that in place, and just do the one at the top. And then we can start attaching everything. Right, so now we're ready to start attaching. So, as I said, this is your front cover, so your front cover should be the bit that folds out that way. So I'm just going to lay it flat for a moment. I'm going to do this one last, only because obviously with this on, when I then start trying to press things on the back, that's going to push into that. So I am going to leave this panel until last. So the one that went next to it was my pocket. Obviously you don't want to glue the whole thing down, you just want to do the U shape, so I'm just going to do that now. So I am using Beacon 3-in-1. Okay, so there we have it so far. What we're going to do is, we will be adding string to this, but we're going to let this all dry first. But you should have then your cover opening up. You've got a shallow pocket there, or a smaller one anyway. These two bits that flap. This is obviously the bit that just slides it all in, and then the other way you've got a taller pocket, and then obviously this is again the bit that slots in. Okay, right, the last thing we're going to do, because again, like I said, we want it all to dry, is obviously it may still be a little bit open here at the bottom. So all I'm going to do is just squirt some glue in there just to close it all up. So obviously focusing on the edge, just to make sure that obviously that's all sealed and closed up. And then just push that down. And then while this one is drying, we can get on with the second one. Okay, so for this second part, it works in the same way. So it is an envelope that is just tri-folded, so you've got 3 bits to it, and then obviously there is an extra flip out bit as well, but we can build that into the last section. So you're going to need another of your large envelopes. Okay, so with your envelope, this front section is going to be the pocket. So obviously this is the fold of where my spine is. This essentially is going to be the hinge, so you want to measure it to the edge of the book, and then you're going to fold this over, but obviously you don't want it necessarily pressed up against this, but you obviously don't want it there either. So I'm leaving more of a gap this side than here, and I'm just folding it over, so I'm just within the edge there, but I've got, like I say, a little bit more of a gap here, but that's absolutely fine. And then once you're happy, just make sure it's all level at the top and the bottom, and then just make a fold. Okay, so as you can see, where the edge of that envelope is, there's quite a gap now before my fold for my spine. Okay, this bit then needs to fold in, but you want it about where the end of that is, because at the moment, if I was to fold that in up to that crease, this bit is larger. Okay, can you see? So this bit comes out further. You want this crease to be up against the edge of here, so you don't want to fold it in too much. It doesn't matter that there's a little bit of a gap here, that is absolutely fine. So holding it up this way, you're again just going to eyeball it, and then as you can see, my edge is just slightly more, but that's absolutely fine, it's not a problem. And then once I'm happy with that, again I'm just going to line it up along the top here so I know that it's straight, and then make that crease. Okay, so then as you can see, the edge of my envelope, I don't know if you can see that actually with this light, the edge of my envelope is just inside the edge of that fold. Okay, and then that's what we have. So we've got a pocket here, and then that opens up. Okay, and then this is going to be on the hinge, so that will then also hinge out there. Okay, let's move. Oh, actually no, we need this for just a moment. We need to obviously trim this so it is the size of the folio. So for this one, you can go up to the top, and then I'm going to make a mark where the bottom of my folio is. It doesn't matter if it's a touch smaller, that doesn't matter. And then I'm just going to trim off this bottom piece. Okay, so there's my trimmed envelope. As you can see, it's pretty much spot on and the same size as that. That's what we want. So I'm going to move this out of the way. Okay, so again, we need to have a little bit of a think of the papers we want to use. So this one is going to be a pocket. Now again, obviously where you've got the curve of that, last time I did have my envelope, my pocket curving round, and I think I will do that for this particular piece. I know I didn't for the last one, but that's because it gets tucked in there and you don't really see it. So I didn't really worry too much, but this one I will curve in. So let's go and pick some papers. Right, let's have a look what we've got. See, I really love these number plates, so I might use those. I do like the clocks as well, actually. But I'm going to have a circle window, so again, that's too many circles for me. So yeah, I'm going to use the number plates. Right, so all I'm going to do then, oh, do I want this side? Yes, I think I prefer this one. Okay, so this is going to go on here, and then I'm just, as we've done before, I'm just going to mark out where I need to cut. Now this is the perfect height now, because this is the full size of the folio, so I don't need to take anything off the top or the bottom. I'm literally just measuring width now, which makes everything so much easier, because I've now got that perfect border top and bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to slice up there, and I'm going to have two pieces. So I'm going to have one for the front and then what will be the back of the pocket as well. So I'm just going to go and trim that. Okay, so here are my two pieces. So this one's going to go on this side, then I'm going to have this one on this side. Okay, so it's Cooper Street. Okay, so that's going to make up my pockets. Now on the last one I cut a hole here and put a vellum window in. I'm going to do the same on this one. Again, that's entirely up to you, you don't have to, but I'm going to use a die and put my hole in there. So I'm just going to quickly go and do that. I'm only doing that on this side, I do not do that on this side. Okay, so I actually changed my mind. I decided not to use a die, but what I did is using my knife, I just kind of made a slit and then I tore my shape around. So obviously where I've got the torn edges on the other piece that we've just done, I thought I would do it for this one as well. So I've got my piece of vellum, so I'm just going to use double-sided tape to stick that to the back, and then that's my pocket done. So let's stick that down. Right, so there's my vellum piece stuck down, and that is my window for that side. So all I'm going to do now is just have a look at obviously where that curves round, because I do want this to curve as well. So I'm just going to lightly draw, just making sure this is lined up. I mean, it's only a very slight angle, I know, but I'm just going to trim that off. Okay, so that's going to go there, and then all I'm going to do with this piece is just line it up, and then where I snipped I'm just going to snip again, just so they're both the same. Okay, so that's going to go on that side, that's going to go on that side. Again, I'm going to sew, so I'm just going to put those together out the way so we can move on. Okay, the next part then, so on here I did a long side pocket, so we need a kind of matte sheet first and then a long strip for the side pocket. Okay, so let's have a look what we've got. That might be cool for the pocket actually, with all the clocks down. So maybe we'll use that for the pocket. And is that tall enough? Maybe just about. Okay, so I'm thinking this could be the background piece. No, that's taller, isn't it? The pocket's just, oh no, no, we're okay. Yeah, so I might use this as the background piece then, and then these clocks can be the pocket. So let's just come in slightly, and then that's where I want to cut it. Okay, right, so there's my 2 strips then. So this is going to be my pocket, this is obviously going to be just like the back sheet, and then that's going to slot into there. Might actually do it that way up. Okay, so that's the pocket done. Put those to the side because, like I said, I will sew those as well. Right, on to these 2 panels then. What do we have here? Okay, so on this one it is similar to the last one, so we're going to have a back panel and then 2 bits that flap in. So let's have a little look what we can use. Right, okay, so for this back panel then I'm thinking of using this, and then again for the flaps coming over I've got another one of these with the number plates on, but it's double-sided because obviously where it flips up you're going to then see the under part of it. So first thing I'm going to do then is just trim this one to size. So I need it, let's move it down so I can actually see where the fold is. So I need it just slightly in, so it's going to go there. So let's just trim that. Okay, so that's that one, and then like I said I'm thinking of using these number plates. So again we want them to be 3 inches in total, because 2.5 will be 2.5 will be what's shown, and then 1/2 inch behind. So let's have a look. I actually think I prefer this one. So I'm going to cut this one out. I'm going to come down 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to cut this panel out as well. And that's going to be my 2 flaps. It'll make more sense when it's cut. Right, okay, so here are my 2 pieces. So what I'm going to do now is score this one 1/2 inch up from the bottom, score this one 1/2 inch from the top, and then they're going to be the 2 flaps. So let's grab a scoreboard and do that. So just at 1/2 inch, let's fold in the top one, and then 1/2 inch that is the bottom one. Okay, so that's going to sit like that on there. Okay, so do I, yes, I think I'm going to, just to keep it in tone with the other one, I am just going to tear along the top, just so it's still in keeping with my other one. And like I say, just give it a quick ink. That's that one. Do the same for here. I do love these papers. I think they're just very cool looking. Okay, a little bit of inking on the top and the bottom. I'm just going to add a light bit of glue. Like I said, it just holds everything in place when I'm trying to sew later on. So a little bit of glue. Okay, and for the bottom one, again, just going to add a little bit of glue, just holds everything in place like so. Okay, so that's that one done. Right, we're just going to do one more piece, which is the back panel. So again, we just need one large piece to go there. Right, because I've got a lot of these cool pieces left, I think I'm actually going to do a little bit of a collage. I really love this, and I love that number plate, so I am going to put those two bits together and maybe get that one in there as well. Okay, maybe not. Okay, so I might just put these two bits together. I'm not going to make it a pocket or a tuck or anything. I'm literally just going to stick these two bits together. And then that's just going to form the back panel. Just because I love the ink splotches here, and this is only a very small piece. There's not much I can do with that. I could make a belly band, I guess, but I've got lots of other pieces that I can use that for. So yeah, I'm just going to glue those two pieces together, and that needs to be trimmed off at the top. So let's just put some glue down here. Okay, so that will just glue those two together, and then I'm just going to trim that along the top there. Okay, so that's my back panel piece. Right, okay, we do have one more panel to do, but because that's quite an interactive one, which I'll show you, so that's this one here, which again kind of has lots going on and flipping out. We're going to do that in the next part of the video, but after that, the other bits are quite simple, so we could possibly get it pretty much done in another video, and then maybe have one really short one at the end just to kind of finish off some bits. But yeah, so there'll definitely be one other video, possibly another, just to do some finishing off. So we've got our main cover. We've also got our bit that slides in at the front with all our flippy out bits, and we've got most of the panels ready now for the second one that's on the inside. So yeah, I think yeah, we've got through quite a lot in this video. Again, I hope that you're enjoying the process. I really love making these. I think they're just so much fun. So yeah, I will see you in part 3.